Praise God. Mr. Kuhnman, if you open us in prayer.
Amen. Lord bless you. The kids can be dismissed to Sunday school. The teachers, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hallelujah. Come back, come back. Come back, come back, come back. So we've been looking at prosperity for a number of weeks. And ended last week talking about the cost of debt and the cost that we often don't think about. So poverty is a spirit. It is a spirit that exercises a force in life and in this world. And so we've been talking about it. We've talking about the cost of debt, compound interest, and all of that. And so debt blocks the blessing of God, is what it does. And so I talked last week and said the lessons the millionaire taught me about life and wealth. Know what you have. You have to know what you have. You have to know where it comes from. And so where it comes from has a lot to do with how you're going to distribute it. And so if you understand that it comes from God, then you understand that giving is part of the distribution of what goes on there. And we're not talking about the wealth strategies that you can get online or on the internet or over the radio or someplace like that. We're talking about a wealth strategy that has to do with God. So thirdly, you need to know where it goes. And so if you don't know where the holes are in the boat, you can't plug the holes. And so you have to know where they are. Where am I bleeding money out into the world? Where am I why am I bleeding money? You think of money as something that's in your life. Where am I bleeding money? Where is it going? Where is it leaking to? And I told you about Pastor Kidd taking a survey and spent a couple of months on it of everything that he spent. And at the end of those few months, he understood that Circle K was getting rich. Okay, so there's a reality there. You drop by on your way to work. You get a coffee and a snack or two. And then you got to cover break time, and you got to cover the rest of the day. And so you get the soda that you need, or the coffee that you need, or the drinks that you need for the rest of the day. Then when you're coming off of work, dinner's not ready, and I'm starving, and I need a cup of coffee, and we get something else at Circle K. And then the weekend, you have your kids that want to go to Circle K and all of that. And he understood, wait a minute here. I'm losing money to Circle K and to fast food places and fast food issues in my life. And so know where it goes. It costs more than you think. Everything costs more than you think. Christmas especially costs more than you think. And it's important to understand that the dynamic there. Buying a car is plus. Going on vacation is plus. Motel rooms are the cost of the motel room plus the taxes that belong to the city, plus whatever else they want to charge you for. And so you have to begin to understand that. And then fourthly, you have to know what money does. And it does, in fact, control much of your life. We are very seldom away from thinking about money and the cost of things and where we get money and our job and whether or not we're going to get a promotion, and all of those different kinds of things are important in our life. And so going back to the issue of prosperity, it's a thriving or growing condition, especially one that concerns our finances. And we've been talking for a number of weeks about wrong financial decisions, failing to plan, different kinds of things. So any question or comment from what we've covered, or what you've thought about, or what was triggered during the week? Anybody with a question or comment? Leonard?
A million things have triggered, but IRS hit me so hard last year and this year that I can see where people shoot themselves. I'm serious. And I can also see why they go and shoot the IRS guy.
Okay, yeah. So here's the last 2 years. I pastors for years got a great break in a number of arenas, particularly our house. We could actually double deduct our house. And so that was great. That was a great blessing. And so for years we've been operating on that. I have to pay, I guess I have to pay estimated taxes, which I do quarterly estimated taxes, and different kinds of things. A number of pastors that do not take a salary out of their church, and so all of your salary is taxable at the end of the year. And so the last 2 years, lots of pastors have taken a huge hit in what they have to pay the IRS. I mean, a huge hit. And that's important. What? Why? Because we weren't planning that way. We weren't planning for the changes. The change in the standard deduction has shifted, but it doesn't affect pastors that are not paying into the IRS during the year. They still have to pay, and you have to pay more because you're not planning on it. And so that's just a reality. And so numbers of pastors, not me, okay? Numbers of pastors that I know are not employees of the church. Numbers of pastors I know, the number of them years ago opted out of Social Security, which is a total insanity. And so, but they did. And so once you opt out, you can't opt in. You can't go in and out of Social Security. And so that was a mistake that they made. And so now, coming down toward the end of their life, you know, they're still younger than I am, but toward the end of their life, they're getting worried about how they're going to survive. And I don't know if you noticed, but your 401k has taken a considerable hit in recent months and years, the last 2 years in particular. And so that's a reality that we have to look at. So any other question or comment? Yes, I get it, Leonard. I get it. The IRS, they've hired hundreds, thousands of extra IRS agents just to look at Christians. Okay, that's the biggest loophole in tax strategies, at least according to the government, is the church. And so don't make a mistake. They are coming after us as a church, so we have to operate as a church. That gives us an exemption from all kinds of things, including our property taxes here in Globe. So that's important to us. That's very critical to us. But if you start operating not as a church, but as a business, I know Rex Humbard used to have a business on selling ladies' underwear. Rex Humbard, the bra business, and they came after him because that's a business. That's not a ministry. Although, when people, when I was in college, bra burners were very popular, and so I guess you could have gone into business a ministry of giving bras to all the ladies on campus, but that's not really a business, so that's not going to function very well. So you have to be and act like a church, and that's important. And so they're going to target a number of people that have other financial dealings as a church. We don't have a business. We're in the people business. And you can't buy them. So that's the way that goes. Any other question or comment before we move on? Because we're going to talk about something very, very bad today. Yeah.
I guess I'd say 40 and younger, they're tuned into this, buy a car, pay the interest, as long as they can make the payment, forget how many years they got to do it.
That's right.
It's not, and then when is that going to tick? Will it ever tick?
Well, it will tick when they repossess their car.
But they get under, what they call it, I'm under water or something like that.
Yeah.
They owe more than the car's worth, so they trade it in, and they just add that money on to the next car.
That's right. So there's a couple of things here. One, for older people who are already underwater, a debt consolidation loan is a huge boo-boo. I mean, it's a big, big mistake because, yes, they'll pay off your debt. Woohoo, woohoo, I don't owe anything. But you now have a loan with a lower payment that you can supposedly afford, but all of your other debt and all the interest on your other debt is rolled into that lower payment, which they're able to do as long as they add years and years and years to your debt. Right? That's how they work it? And so, yeah, you can get out from under that debt. Yeah, you can do that. And the other thing is these title loans. A title loan will lose you your car. Okay? Because it's something like 200% interest. And that starts 24 hours later. And it goes. And you don't get it without them having the title. If they have the title, they can do whatever they want to your car, including sell it. Somebody who supposedly will pay for it. They're all out. All those things are out there. Later on, when's it going to tick? When's it going to click? When's it going to come to a reality? Well, when you get a little bit older and you have medical bills. Okay? And so you got your thumb out on the highway to get a ride to your doctor. And so that's not going to work very well. There are a number of things in medical things, they're part of what we're going to talk about today. You have to plan for your future. Okay? Because your future is going to happen. It is going to happen. And so you have to plan for your future. I'm thrilled that Joe Campbell's still alive. He's older than I am and still functioning and still in the fellowship. So that's great. And so you have to plan for your future. And things happen in your future that you don't really expect to happen when you're 15. or 25 or even 35. But at 40, what do you have to buy when you get 40? Get around what? Glasses. Glasses. So all of a sudden I can't see. And so that's something that goes with about 40 years of age. That's why I wanted a PhD before I got 40, so I wouldn't have to wear glasses when I was going to college. Did it work? No, it didn't work. And so that's the reality. Sister Hernandez. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. I grew up in California. Well, if I grew up there. But I'm not sure I grew up. But anyway, we lived in California. And it's astronomical. And my three sisters, one of them has since moved to Arizona and cannot believe how much easier life is for her here than in California. And am I dinging California? Yeah, I'm dinging California because they don't have to be that way. They got all the resources. They got all the resources. They got oil. They got gold. They got silver. They got mines. They got everything. A friend of mine has a family mine up by Mammoth that just has gold laying on the floor of the mine. Can't get anybody to work it. And then the permitting process and all of that stuff in California is absolutely beyond belief. It costs $1,000 for them to get a toilet in the first church, in the church that they had there, because of the permitting in California. You guys are batting your eyes at me. So there are things that happen. Someday you're going to have to be able to hear. Right? There are certain things that have to happen in your life. You have to take care of your teeth. Which is a big expense. Some of you are taking care of your teeth and your kids' teeth. And that's a huger expense. And so you're going to have to take care of your teeth. Unless you're going to do drugs and go toothless the rest of your life. Then you have to take care of your eyes. You have to take care of your ears. I'm preaching to the choir here. You have to take care of your ears. You have to be able to hear sirens when you're driving down the highway. That would be helpful. Or if you're driving too fast and somebody wants to pull you over, and you're too blind to see the red lights and too deaf to hear the siren, you're probably going to go to jail. They'll throw the puncture strips out in front of you to stop you. So those are all things. So planning to fail is the issue today. Our financial future is determined actually by what we've already done. Okay? Can we kind of lock into that? Some of you have had to pay bills, and some of you had to pay things, and some of you had to raise kids, and some of you had to do this and that. And the things that make that possible are decisions that we've already made. Okay, it's important to grasp that. A plan, an organized decision made beforehand and made with a thought that I'm going to go there someday. Okay? The thought is not, I got a job today, I get a check on Friday, and I'm going to spend it all on Friday night. Okay. So that's how the generation coming up lives. Because we'll always have a paycheck. Well, you won't always have a paycheck, especially if the economy goes sour. Okay? A lot of people were blessed in the COVID time in being able to keep their job and work at home. But not everyone. Not everyone. And the stimulus, I don't know what the stimulus did except put us to sleep about the realities of money. And so now we're out of that. Now, what are people squawking about? The government should give us more money. Well, where does the government get money? Redwood trees, they just knock them down and make paper. That's the bottom line of money. It's just paper and metal. That's all it is. And we've agreed to certain standards that it's worth, that we can barter or trade with it. And so that's a reality. Luke, let's get a couple of scriptures. 3 John, verse 2. Leonard, you get that for us. We need Luke 14:28. 14:28. Cheppy, get that for us. And I don't just want to gab up here about how hard it is to live in America today. It is still better than any other place that I know. And if you want to move to Afghanistan, you can probably get somebody to help you. Proverbs 6, verse 6 through 11. Proverbs 6. Somebody get that for us. Somebody with the Bible, Ed, get that for us. And then we'll talk about something a bit different. Well, not very different, but okay. So here's the deal. A plan organized beforehand. You are going into the future at the same rate as everybody else. Exactly the same rate. And so an organized decision beforehand. Before you get your paycheck, you ought to determine where it's going. Rather than going down and cashing it, getting your pocket full of cash and then driving down Broad Street and there's an open restaurant and you have to feed your lust for Mexican food or whatever it is. Okay? So Luke 14:28. Okay. So now that fits with our core scripture. Leonard, get it? That 3 John verse 2.
Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth.
Okay, so God has a plan, and that is for our prosperity. That is, as our soul prospers, God wants us to prosper in this arena of living here. It's very good that you have a vision of heaven, but that won't pay the lady at Safeway. Okay? So you have to have a prosperity in our mind. How much does what I want actually cost? And secondly, do I have enough money to have it? Now that doesn't often cross a lot of people's minds. The second part. Can I really afford that? Do I have the money for that? Because your kids and everybody else will say, put it on the card. And once you get like 12 cards, you're up in the $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 range of debt. And if you've been able to pay most of them, they will raise your limit. Oh, we're so happy to let you know we've raised your limit another $2,000. Another $2,000. I didn't even have $2,000. But anyway, we're going to raise your debt limit so you can buy more on credit and pay us, your credit card owner, more. Did you ever notice that the more you charge, the more your monthly payment is? Did it cross anybody's mind? So what? What? You ever notice that they have to now, I think almost everybody has to now put on there, if you make the minimum payment, how many years it's going to take to pay it off? Did you notice that they put that on there? You ever bother to read it? Because it's a lot longer than you think. Just 12 monthly payments for that one item. But what about the other items? Ramona. Mm-hmm. It's good to have windows in your house. Go ahead.
And there's one window that has the pane that constantly stationing it. And so we thought, well, we need windows. So this gentleman comes and nice windows. Loved them. Just good. He was a good representative. Came right down to it, told us the price. Close to 30,000. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're gonna get Big Macs instead of windows. So that you have to be aware of that. And here's the problem that we have: our houses are getting older. I don't know where that came from. It rattled the walls in here. Our houses are getting older, which means upkeep. And at the rate we're going, $30,000 for windows, that's more than most of us would ever have paid 30 years ago for a whole house. Okay. And so it's like, duh! And, this house next door here I wanted to buy, and it came on the market, and I had the cash, and I called them that morning to buy it. It had already been sold. At that time, it was $30,000. Since then, it's gone up to over $120,000. And so, between Selena and I, we're trying to figure out ways to evict them and get their house. So there's a reality. Our houses are going to have some upkeep. And so part of the upkeep is going to be your heating and air conditioning. One day last year, I walked into my garage and it was really steamy and warm. I think, what's going on? And I look at the windows on the garage door and they're dripping with water and condensation. And I'm thinking, what is happening? And I go over to my water heater. It's on. It looks fine. There's no water at the bottom, nothing happening. But where the hot water line was, there was a pinhole that I had to emergency call Angelo to come with a giant wrench to fix that, and so put in a new line. And so if you have any trouble with your houses, Angelo's in the business. And after he left me and did me a favor and everything and told him, be sure and charge an exorbitant price for your help. So, planning involves thinking. And so it involves, you personally, your health is headed somewhere. And so that means a few things that you're not going to want, like glasses. I got new ones. They have this fancy-looking copper down the side. So, since I live in Copperville, and you're going to have, if your ticker doesn't work real well, and you insist on eating high-fat foods, then you might have to have a stint or two. Or if you're just going to live in Globe and eat Mexican food, then you might have to have 4 or 5 stints. And so, no telling. This is Cardiac, Arizona. And all different kinds of things are going to go on in your life personally, but also where you live. And have anybody in here ever have your car go kaput unexpectedly when you went out to get in it and go to work or go to somewhere? So all those things cost money, and money, as my mother said, doesn't grow on trees. Luke 14:31, if a king's going to go fight a battle or fight another king, he'll sit down and think about it. Unless he's named Putin. And think about it. Can I actually do this? And you're in a spiritual battle here on planet Earth to maintain your salvation, your testimony, your obligations to your fellow man, and to raise a family. And they really do require some thinking. What's that? What do I need to think about? You need to think about what's coming at you. It's like driving a car. You need to think about where you're going and what's coming at you. The biggest mistake people make concerning money is they don't think about it with a plan. That's the biggest, hugest mistake. Hugest isn't a word, I don't think, but it works to convey what I want to say. Most people, especially as Leonard says after or under 40, most people are responders rather than planners. This happened. Now what am I going to do? And honestly, I did not plan for my water heater to spring a pinhole leak. Okay. But if I'm cognizant, if I'm aware that that house was built in 1996, then I know that there's some things that aren't going to work on down the road. You have to have air conditioning. You have to have heating. You have to have water. You have to have electricity. Normally, when the power goes out, you just freak out and run wild. And so we have to be aware of those things. And most people are responders, and what do they respond to? They respond to advertising. It's hilarious to me that you had an issue with Windows. I have on my door at least every month Windows. Somebody's advertising doing Windows. Windows. You need. I know I need Windows. I got a big crack in the one window over my desk. I'm hoping it doesn't come crashing down and cut my arm off. But anyway, it's there. It's been there since I moved in. So I'm hoping it'll stay there till I move out, either in a hearse or if I sell it or something. So if you guys run me out of town, then I'll have to get rid of it. So women buy responsibly shoes, purses, clothes. Did I say that? Doesn't that sound sexist? Men buy responsibly guns. Did I say guns? Cars, electronics, boats, skis. Are you with me? And hunting clothes. And four-wheel drive or other kind of drive to get back to the back country and watch the elk run away. So we spend money we don't have, or we spend more than we can really afford. Or you can spend more than you earn. That's a big boo-boo. Your spending has to be linked to your income, I think. Isn't that generally the way it works? Eventually. Unless when your funeral occurs and your 8 kids are all there and they discover that you didn't own anything. Actually, several corporations owned you, and they want their money. And so there's a reality that we have to, if your outgo exceeds your ingo, then your upkeep will be your downfall. Okay? Lack of wisdom produces financial poverty. Proverbs 6 through 11.
Consider her ways and be wise, which, having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her flour in the harvest. How long will you slumber, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands. So shall your poverty come on you like a proud, and your need like a armed man.
Now, I have trouble as a biologist. Go to the sluggard, you ant. And I don't think ants really get a council meeting and plan where the anthill's going to go and how deep and how wide it's going to go. I have trouble just because I think they're pretty much programmed that way. But then I worry about how we're programmed or not programmed, or refuse programming, or are disobedient, or any other kind of thing. And the truth that is there, if you're lazy, you're going to be poor. So you can't stay in bed till noon and expect to get a paycheck at the end of the week. Unless somehow you're magically wired up for your brain power while you're asleep to be used somewhere else. But most of you know that when we're asleep, our brain power goes down so we can sleep. Some of you are always complaining, I can't stop my mind. I can't stop my mind. I want to go to sleep. But it's not working. Okay, so the ant's wise because of planning in advance. Poverty comes when you don't plan in advance. If you don't have a financial plan, you're going to come up against an obstacle that has every chance of ruining you. If you're not looking out down the road, then you're going to come up against an obstacle that will trip you, cause you to fail. Now, I'm not dumb. I cannot and you cannot anticipate every possibility. If you're anticipating every possibility, I'll talk to you tonight when I preach on worry. Okay, so but worry won't solve the issue either. You have to actually do something. Planning. We used to say when we witness to people, God has a plan for your life, and God is a planner, and He's pretty good at it. He put together the entire universe. It operates. I know this will shock you, but the universe operates by laws. There are physical laws. That's why we had an eclipse, a partial eclipse of the sun. There's a concern about these laws that are in operation. And so I think there's going to be a lunar eclipse before long. And so it operates by laws. The comet that they tried to blow up or steer aside or whatever, it's in an orbit that operates by laws. There's a law. It's called sowing and reaping. That's how it works. If you don't sow, you can't reap. There is seed time and harvest. And so as I'm driving by on the freeway down by Scottsdale, the reservation there, they've got it all plowed, and they're irrigating it, and they're getting ready to sow for a harvest. And if they don't do that, it's not going to happen. And here's the kicker. They're going to put into the ground what they can't yet see, what they're wanting to have happen. They're going to put into the ground not the crop, not the harvest. They're going to put into the ground seed. Seed. It doesn't look like the final crop. But it has to be put into the ground. It has to be planted. It has to be established, or you're not going to get a crop. And so the same thing is true for you and I in our finances. We have to have God's favor because the seed grows, and you have to plan your finances. You have to establish something. A financial plan. What do they call a financial plan? What do they call it? A budget. I know it's a nasty word. It's a horrible word. But it's a reality. A spending plan. And it's got two halves to it. The income plan and the spending plan. You have to have both. And if you're going to have both, you have to have a job or some kind of retirement. So there has to be an income, and the outgo has to be planned. That's called an allocation. You're going to make an allocation. The oldest, probably the simplest, at least that I'm familiar with, is to have a series of cans or jars on your countertop And when you get the cash of your paycheck, you put it in the various jar or can. Right? Or you have in a drawer, you have a series of envelopes, and when you get the cash, you slide it in the place where it goes. You're allocating that amount of money to that particular issue. A budget is simply telling your money where to go instead of your creditors telling you where to go. Here's a reality. A budget is an advance issue about where your money is actually going to end up or go and what it's going to do. That was one of the 4 things that we talked about. The millionaire taught me is about life and wealth, is that your money has to go. You have to know where it's going to go. And so by putting the jars on your countertop or the envelopes in your bureau drawer or wherever you're deciding in advance that this money is going to these places. It's like you're having a little guy in your on your countertop who's putting the lid on these things and saying, okay, no, don't touch this. This goes here. Some of us need to electrify our cans if we ever make the wrong decision. It's like, so, that's not where it's supposed to go. It's not a tracking device. That's what the pastor did when he went by Circle K and figured out where his money went. That's a tracking device. But the allocation, that's telling it where it's going. This money is going to this place. Why? Because that's right. Because that's where the need is. Because that's the issue. That's what I'm facing on down the road. Somebody get for us Genesis 41. Genesis 41. Who's got a Bible? We'll get a couple of scriptures before we quit here. Genesis 41. Somebody that's woke up this morning. Amen. So, Willie, Genesis 41, 33 to 36. Leonard, Proverbs 24, 3. Proverbs 24, 3. And we'll do the rest later, but we want to get this. So, any question or comment before we wind up this morning? Anybody want to chime in? Anybody with an example? Anybody believing? Sherry? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. That's because you got all the money in the world. Yeah. No, exactly. So we're all going to pay for student debt now. Hello? Not me. I paid mine off. Actually, I didn't. My mother was nice to me when we were going to go overseas, and she paid it off. It was only a couple $100 at that time. Carolyn? Mm-hmm. That's right. So you need to, if you're buying a car, you're buying anything, that way you need to understand they're going to get their interest first. And as you make the payments, the interest will go down a wee bit. Not near enough. So that's why if you're buying something that way, if you can add to your principal payment at the beginning, that pays dividends at the end, because it cuts down the length of your loan. Okay. So I've done that for years with my cars. Always paid more on the principal with the monthly payment, so that by the end it cuts off, 6, 8, 10 months of payments, which is a big help to me. So that works. Okay, Bertha? Yeah. That'll work. Okay. And so the whole idea with the monthly payment is to get ahead. Get ahead of the game with your monthly payment. Okay, so let's get this scripture, Genesis 41, 33 to 36. Okay, so here's a plan. That's the whole deal. Here's a plan. Let's set somebody over the issues of money here. Let's do that. And they did that. They got somebody to do that so that the land of Egypt would not die during the years of drought. Anybody ever experience a year or two of drought? Okay. So that's part of it. As Sherry was saying, there are seasons. So if you're working construction, listen, there are seasons when it rains. Okay? And you can't work. So what are you doing? You're not earning anything during that time. So you have to plan ahead. I know that there are issues. If you're working further east from here, there are issues right now. That's raining, it's pouring, it's going to snow, and you're not going to be building a house. Not going to be working outside. You're not going to be working on the highway. You're not going to be doing a lot of things because it's down right now. That's a reality of life. Proverbs 24:3.
Through wisdom is a house built, and by understanding it is established.
Okay. Through wisdom it's built, and understanding it remains. Lord bless you. We'll continue next week, and God will help us to understand money. Lord bless.